And it's better for you to be a producer of your own life instead of being an actor or an actress working on someone else's script, or even the director, because you're still working on someone else's
That's
script,
right.
making someone else's life come to being. So I want you to think of your life to be a producer, to produce something, and to produce something that gives you creativity, that provides you a life that is going to be audacious, because what you're doing is you're producing the things that were coming in from the inside of you,
Yep.
and you're able to show it to this world in a greater way with your great creativity.
Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to help our listeners and inspire them to live their best audacious lives ever. It's always a pleasure to be able to share with you, and I appreciate each and every single one of you who've taken time out of your day to join us on this journey of audacious living. Now, we'll be talking about the importance of living your life on purpose, and on this episode of the podcast. And when you think about that, again, living your true purpose is very much like a seed that's planted in fertile soil. Just as the seed's purpose is to grow into a strong and vibrant plant, each person has a unique purpose waiting to be discovered and fulfilled. When you nurture your talents and your passions and values, you're providing the essential nutrients for your purpose to blossom and thrive. And we certainly discovered this in our interview with Randy Adkins Jr. He is an ordained minister and author of the book Produced on Purpose: Experience Life Being the Real You. He's got a passion for helping others discover and live out their unique purpose, and his message of living a life aligned with one's true self resonates deeply with all who encounter his work. On this episode, Randy shares valuable insights on the importance of connecting with our inner selves to produce a life of purpose and creativity. Randy's teachings on being a producer of your own life rather than an actor or director underscore the power of authenticity and alignment in living a fulfilling life. So now that we've got you all set, let's turn to our interview with Randy Adkins Jr. Enjoy. Hey, Randy, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time like this, so thank you.
Hey, it is fantastic to be here, and I am ready to talk about some audacious living, man.
That's it. It's so funny because the process, of living audaciously really comes down to you as an individual, and really whether or not you want to grab the mantle and proceed ahead. And so, and again, that's totally sort of up to you. The important thing to understand is that we've all got sort of our own path way to get to this level of greatness, and the onus is really on us. And I know purpose is something that you spend a lot of time around, and I think it's a really good connection here for why it makes sense to have you on this podcast. So maybe as a starting point, Randy, we can get you to talk a little bit about your work and what you do, and then what's brought you to this point.
Yeah, I am just excited about talking about really producing on your purpose and who you are, based on what you were born to be,
Mhm.
and that you are able to produce in this life based on your gifting, based on all your unique skill sets that you have. And it's amazing what we can all do when we are focused and connected and able to live a life that is based on something that you automatically do. And so what I'd like to share is that many times our gifting is that thing that everyone says, "Oh, how do you do that?" And you say, "Oh, that's easy. That's nothing for me. It's nothing." Everyone else they say that's hard, but you like, "No, that's easy. That's in my
Right.
lane." And when you're able to do that, and then you're able to produce anything that you're looking at with a lot more ease and not without all of this effort. One of the toughest things I think in this world is that many say that you have to, work so extremely hard to make something happen. And really, in the end, you can be a producer of your own life. And I begin to talk about this in the book, is that we sometimes show up as actors or actresses, And so when you look at my book, which is called Produce on Purpose, Experience Life Being the Real You, I have a mask on the front. And that is representative of how sometimes we show up in different ways, in different places. And I learned how to do it when I was really young. And I didn't know that there was a word called code switching until later on in life. And they said,
Right.
oh, yeah, I was like, oh, I do that all the time. So you can produce and you can live a great life based on who you were uniquely born to be. And that's what I love to talk about and love to share and talk about ways that we can do that consistently and with not a whole lot of effort.
So when you say produce, I wonder if you could just sort of clarify what that is, so we're all on the same page here.
Yeah. So being a producer and to be able to produce and create something is focused in on not being an actor or an actress. So the actor or actress, typically when you create a movie, they're the ones that are out there in the front. So when we look in the billboards or we see on television, we see these great trailers, we're like, oh, that's the actor or the actress. Great. But one thing I found about an actor and actress is that they all live on somebody else's script. They are working somebody else's script. In fact, that's what they work on to do all the time. And so I say, then you say, well, maybe I'm not an actor and actress, maybe I'm the director. And I'm like, yeah, being a director is cool. Nothing wrong with it. You have more creative freedom.
Sure.
You're able to kind of say what shot you want to take. But in the end, ultimately, the director still works for somebody else, and the actor and actress works for someone else. And guess who they work for? The producer.
That's right.
And the producer is the one that puts everything together. They find the resources, they find the people that we need to come together for the vision, they have the script, and then they bring it all together so
Yeah.
that they can produce this thing called a production. In movies, it's going to be a movie. In music, it's the music that comes out. And whatever you're doing, then in your life, I'm going to say that your production is what you call your life. And it's better for you to be a producer of your own life instead of being an actor or an actress working on someone else's script, or even the director, because you're still working on someone else's
That's
script,
right.
making someone else's life come to being. So I want you to think of your life to be a producer, to produce something and to produce something that gives you creativity, that provides you a life that is going to be audacious because what you're doing is you're producing the things that were coming in from the inside of you
Yep.
and you're able to show it to this world in a greater way with your great creativity. So that's when I say producing, that's what I'm talking about is your creativity being shined in this world very brightly. And yes, a producer has the ideas, but they can't do it by themselves. They
Right.
need a whole group of people around them to make that happen. And that's the same thing with our lives.
Randy, how did you land on all this?
You said, how did I do this?
How did you land on all this? Is it a process of you finding your own gifts, or someone said, "Hey, you're really good at"?
Yeah. All of these years, it just came out that all of the things that have been going on in my life, and so there's been a process that has occurred. And I like to go back to when I was a kid, and I had a best friend, and we enjoyed going into his backyard and coming up with these creative ideas. And so what we would do is put together what you would probably call a contraption today, but it was a new world for us. We take some tarp and some tape and wood and all this stuff and put it together. And sometimes it was Star Trek, sometimes it was Star Wars.
Mm,
Whatever we could come up with, we would come up with these ideas in our head and they would become reality. And I learned early on that sometimes he would put it together while I said, hey, here's what you need to do. Or sometimes he would tell me, hey, this is what we need to do. And I would put it together. Or sometimes we do it collaboratively where we would both do it. I found out that I really enjoyed, kind of coming up with the idea and then telling him what to do. But,
right.
hey, I think maybe most of us might like that. Come up with the idea and bring it together. And his mom, of course, would make us clean everything up because she didn't want her backyard to be messed up. But we would create those things every day. And I found out that our imagination and who we are and what we think of can become reality. And that was around 8 or 9. And I was curious that, hey, you know what? What is this? How can I apply this in other ways of my life? And I started learning that that is something that we all can do is we come up with these particular ideas,
Right.
then those ideas become reality in this world. For me to write the book that you're hearing about, it had to be an idea first, and then it was built into something that became a reality in this world. And one of the things that, as I've been going down this path of life, that I
Hmm.
learned was sometimes we take in all of this stuff that's from the outside of us, and we then change who we are based on what's happening to us. And I am encouraging everyone based on what I have learned and this process that I've started going down throughout the years is start thinking from the inside out with that imagination being clicked and having that creativity to begin to see things in your life that serve you, not so much of the things that don't serve you.
Right. And it's important to be able to make that distinction between the two, isn't it?
Correct, because in if you are being driven by the things that are coming from the external, you'll always wake up in the morning or in the day, and you may not be as happy as you could be. And so, another driving factor for me, I'm a ordained minister, and so there are many people who would call me and talk to me and tell me, "Oh man, I'm not really happy with my life or waking up in the morning." And
Hmm.
I wanted to provide a way for people to hear a word that would allow them to get and unlock themselves to awaken in a way that they can start to look from the inside out, and that every day you wake up that you can have joy, you can have peace, you can have excitement besides whatever might be going on outside of you. You might have all kinds of things happening outside of you, but if your internal is good, if you got joy on the inside, that even in those cases, those things that are external to you, they're only temporary. And you'll be able to
Yep.
distinguish between what's real and what's living within you and that stuff that's outside of you that's only temporary. You could then move forward and have that greater joy, that greater peace every single day.
That temporary stuff can serve as such a distraction, in terms of that path that we're on. And when you start that journey of, okay, let me figure out my purpose, let me find that out, it really shouldn't be that hard, because if you pay attention to what you're being told, and you made that point earlier, you'll be told, it'll come to you. You don't have to search. Um and and, and, I, and I find it interesting. I've actually been in conversations with individuals like, I don't know my purpose, and I'm like, what are you good at? I don't know. The first thing I said, well, what do people tell you?
Yes.
And
What are
right.
people saying that you're good at? And what are they telling you that, hey, when you are around and you do this, you do it with ease. Thinking of that, and sometimes people are believing that their purpose has to be something that is so large. Sometimes it's just your presence and who you are, or you might smile and make people laugh, and just by being there. And I've had many people sometimes say, it's just how I feel differently when I come in contact with you, or you just said a couple of words and it changed my life. And those are things that you are able to align with. And every one of us has a gift. Every one of us has something that has been put within us from our creator. So, and I think of this and I call my creator God, is that God has provided a general gifting for everyone. And that particular gifting and purpose for everyone is that you align with what your creator does. And so one of the things that I look at is if my creator is love, then every day that I go out, I'm going to have that general idea that I'm going to shed love every day. But then there's that specific gifting that everyone has. And for me, my specific gifting is teaching. And I can take something that is complex and then I can share it in a way, in multiple ways, whether it's using metaphors, analogies, or information to help someone understand a concept that they can then begin to understand. And so, what yours is may be a little different than that, but
Sure.
it is something that can be shared with the world and can change everyone's life that's around you.
I think part of that sort of I'll call it discovery process, if you will, is trying to figure yourself out. Is sort of listening to. I guess we all have that inner voice, right? That voice inside of us that kind of gives us direction. Very subtle, very gentle, but it is there. I wonder if you sort of could speak about the importance of that inner voice to us.
Yes, I have a chapter called "Listen to Your Heart" in Produce on Purpose, and in that chapter, I talk about just as our beating physical heart, that there is a heart that you have within you that provides you with some information and some guidance. And this guidance is like a divine compass. So
Okay.
everyone knows that a compass, that it always, if you can point it north, you can find your way. And that's what we want. We want to be able to point north. We want to be able to point to that thing that is special within us. And your heart, which what's in you, if you learn to listen to that. And I give an example that if you are beginning to listen to your heart, this is when you are beginning to foresee something before it may even happen. And I laugh about this, but anytime I'm driving down the road and I'm in my car and I might be driving a little fast, but I see blue lights come up behind me, and that's the police that's driving behind me. Initially, I may already be, before I even know what's going on, that that police is either after me, it might be after someone else. I go, and that feeling is something that you have with many different things within your life. There is an intuition or a gut feeling that you have that you can begin to listen to in a greater way. And not only is there your heart, but there's your head. But your head is the thing that we want to not align with initially. We want to align with our heart first, and then have that be one that is sharing with our head what we need to do. But if we stay in our headspace, we can just, all we can do is, sometimes it's like a battle. It's like I'm doing ping pong between this and that and over this and that. But when you know with your heart all of the things that you're going through, your heart speaks to you and says, hey, this is what you should be doing. This is the right way to go. This is what you're supposed to be saying. This is how you're supposed to move. And
Right.
you feel that within yourself, within your body first, before you even can think about it or have thoughts about it. And so if you begin to be led by that, then you are able to listen and hear. And that is a direct connection to your creator. That's a direct connection to the source of who you are. And when you are doing that on a consistent basis, then it can help form your thoughts. Well, then what if I form my thoughts? Then from my thoughts, then I can form my actions. And from my actions, then I can form my behaviors. And I can then really affect this world.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. That's powerful stuff. I mean, very, very powerful stuff. Even and I do appreciate the the listening to the heart, right? And clearly, it's to do that. We really have to be connected to ourselves, right? And as we talked earlier about those distractions, well, if those distractions have got our attention, we're impacting our ability to stay connected to who we are. And I know you also touched on some of the body, soul, and spirit as part of that connection process. That's where the heart fits into that as well. Is that all part same thing?
Yeah, let's talk about that. The initial part is that we are made up of being a body, we are made up of being a soul, and we are made up of being a spirit. So when I say whether you're a man, woman, that we all have body, we all have soul, and we have spirit. Your
Right.
body is your connection to this world that you're touching things, you're hearing things, you're seeing things, you're tasting things, you're smelling things, and that those five senses connect us to this world, and that's what our body is here for. But we are not just our body, we are also our soul. Our soul is where our mind, we have a will, we have emotions, and man, do emotions drive us? That's energy in motion. That is the thing that kind of everyone's like, oh, I'm being driven by my emotions, but
Mm,
those emotions in your soul actually drive us to action many times. And so you have your mind, your will, and your emotions connected in your soul, and your spirit is what was given to you from your creator. Whoever you align yourself with as your creator is there. We are uniquely designed. There is a design behind us. If you go to the smallest portion of who you are, all the way to the biggest portion outside, when you look up in the sun, there is a design here. There is no way this just all happenstance created and was here. No, your life is
right.
designed in some way. And so when we begin to connect with our spirit, our soul, and our body, it's really important that we understand that the senses that we have, they're indicators of what's going on in this external world. And we talked about this a little earlier
Mhm.
about the outside in versus the inside out. And this
Yep.
is when it really connects, that when we begin to just take what's going on from the outside, then those outside things begin to affect our emotions. So that's why you could wake up one morning and you're happy as can be because it's sunny outside, and maybe you don't like the rain. So when it's rainy outside, maybe you're not as happy. But
Right.
that's because you're allowing the outside to affect your inside. And my encouragement is that we begin to understand all the portions of ourselves, and we begin to align with that spirit first, then that soul, which makes all the decisions and the choices of our lives, then that soul begins to feed our external and what we do with this world and this body and how we move forward. A lot of people call it that when you begin to learn to do this in a more consistent way, it's almost as if you are manifesting, or you are building a life in this way, because you are now aligning with what you were put here to do on a consistent basis. So that connection and understanding who we truly are and while we're living here in this world, and when you go deeper into that, then you can then know that I am in greater uh, ability and control and power. When I talk
Mhm.
about power, I talk about you can get results in this world. You have greater ability to get results in this world when you are aligning initially with the spirit. Then your soul can make the right choices, and then you're doing whatever you need to do in this world. You're acting upon this world because you were put here, born here, have the uniqueness from your spirit showing up. And it's almost like a light into this world. People's like, when you come around, they feel your light.
They absolutely do, and it's like, and you feel when someone comes in the room and they bring this energy all of a sudden. It's like, wow, like you can feel that. That's so important. Um, so what does the process of that connection look like? How do you do that?
So that process is important for us to begin to sit back and think about your essence and who you are. And I will go back to the pandemic. The pandemic helped me to calm myself down. I like doing a lot of things, and I enjoy being what they may call the A-type personality. I'm gonna have a plan. I'm gonna plan something out, and then I'm gonna execute, and I'm gonna do that. And what I found when the pandemic, when I had to slow down and stop and sit with myself, that I no longer had just someplace else I could go when I needed to confront something. And the initial start of this is that you have to begin to sit with yourself in a greater way. So if it's 5 minutes in silence with some time to really grapple with some of the things that you may have issues with, you may not have dealt with in your life before. And when you begin to start to investigate those, ask yourself those questions and answer them in your way. Why do you get angry about some different things in your life? Why is it when this person comes around, I always feel this particular way? Or maybe when I go to a particular place, I'm feeling this way. Maybe you're being triggered by different things. And so the part of this process begins to say, I'm going to introspectively begin to sit with myself initially. I try not to think about anything else. I do it early in the morning because my children are not up, my wife's not up. I'm up, and I can take some time to check myself. And you can do body scans with yourself. How do you feel right now?
Sure.
What are your toes feeling like? What are your hands feeling like? And when you take a shower, are you thinking about other things, or are you actually enjoying the shower itself and how the water is hitting you and the warmth of that? Can you really be in the present moment at this time and not be in the past or the future? So the beginning of the connection begins to say, how can I get in this present moment in a greater way? And sometimes we say words like meditation or prayer. I focus on prayer and meditation to start that process. But when you are becoming more present and more aware of what everything is, then your attention can be in this present moment and understand that, man, there have been many times in my life where I probably have missed out. And I know for me, I missed out on a lot of things because I was either thinking of something in the past, which made me depressed, or thinking of something in the future, what made me anxious about something that was coming
Right.
up.
Right.
And instead of being in the moment,
Moments.
and I missed moments, and
Mm,
I want everyone to not miss those moments, but to find ways to be present. And the more we do some techniques to where, and different techniques, there's so many techniques out there
right.
for us.
Right.
You have to just try a couple, to keep trying. I say iterate over them, and
Sure.
you will then start to connect with who you really are. And then the next step is, then you got to start letting go of some of the things that we may have thought were true, but they really aren't.
Mm. I do love the point about just maintaining that presence and being present. It's in those present moments where the magic lies, right? And oftentimes when we miss those moments, it's just solely because you were either caught in the past or the future, not really seeing what's in front of us. And so I'm really appreciate you raise that. Your book, Produced on Purpose, it's available on your website, randyadkinsjr.com.
Mm.
Um,
Yes.
is that where folks should go if they wanted to connect with you directly?
Yes, if you want to connect with me, go to randyadkinsjr.com. There you will find information about this book, Produce on Purpose, Experience Life Being the Real You. I also have a podcast where we go into the same information in a deeper way. My podcast is a solo podcast at the moment, but maybe at some point I will be bringing in guests to talk about being able to produce in this life on purpose in the way that you should. Also, you'll find on my website other interviews like this, or other information, whether it's sermons
Yep.
or information on how you can live a better life. And I encourage you, go there, provide me some feedback,
Awesome.
randyadkinsjr.com, and I will be more than happy to connect with every one of you.
It's amazing stuff, Randy. Again, I love the mission. I love the way you're going about doing things, and being a producer is just a wonderful concept or idea that's within all of our grasp. We just got to go out and do it, right? So,
Yes, and if we do that on a consistent basis, you'll just really have so much more joy, so much more peace, and people will see the difference in your life and how you move about. I've had so many tell me that, thank you for writing this book because it has changed how I actually affect my life. I have become the thermostat instead of the thermometer. I'm not just saying that my life, I can tell you about all the things that are happening. No, I am beginning to change and make it whatever temperature I need it to be at any time.
I love it. I love it. Randy, thank you for the time. This has been awesome. And be well,
Yeah.
my friend.
Audley, thank you.
Back we are here on the podcast, and as Randy reminded us, our true power lies in harnessing the wisdom of our heart, soul, and spirit to create a life that reflects our inherent gifts and purpose. By listening to our inner voice and being present in the moment, we can forge a path of joy, peace, and authenticity that brings us closer to our divine purpose. Now, to connect with Randy directly and explore more of his transformative teachings, I'd encourage you to visit his website, randyadkinsjr.com. We'll have it in the show notes below. I'd encourage you to take an opportunity to dive deeper into his principles of audacious living and discover the power with you to create, a life fulfilled with purpose and passion. Explore Randy's book, like I mentioned, Produced on Purpose, for further guidance on unlocking your true potential and living a life aligned with your unique gifts and calling. It's a great read, and I'm certain you'll enjoy it. Thank you all for joining me on this edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. If you found value in this episode, certainly I encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, and share, because that's how you support this podcast and help us reach even more listeners. Together we can make a positive impact and empower each other to live our most audacious lives. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, Be audacious.